Okay, so I think I'm recording. Here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our PowerPoint that we have. Please, 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 since it's just us, go ahead and let me know if you cannot see this. I think I am sharing. Actually, hold on. You know what we're going to do? I always do this wrong. I'm sorry. Okay. Why isn't it going big? Oh, do you know, because I'm sharing the wrong screen. There we go. Okay, can you guys see just the slide, or are you seeing anything else?
I can see the screen.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so like I said, our office is called the Military and Veteran Services Office. What we do primarily is we are kind of the advocate for anybody who's using VA education benefits here at Marymount. We're the ones who contact the VA on your behalf, help certify any of your enrollments, make sure that everything's good to go for you guys to use any benefits here. We're also kind of the point of contact for anybody who's interested in doing ROTC. So I'll just kind of real quick kind of go over some of the things. So this slide, all we're saying here is that we are approved by the Virginia State Approving Agency to use or to offer GI education. And so it's a registered trademark of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. This is going to be a little bit of what we're going to go over today. Really, I just kind of want to quickly kind of go over some of the benefits that our students most often use here at Marymount. And then our yellow ribbon program, and then what we kind of ask our students to do in order so they can use their benefits smoothly. These are the VA education benefits that we are approved to accept here at Marymount. These are usually the ones that are actually most commonly awarded. So we have Chapter 33.
Erin,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
sorry, are you moving slides? Because I just still see the first one.
Well, that's not good because I am. Thank you so much for telling me that.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Can you see that one?
Okay. I can, yes.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we are actually, so this is just kind of the overview. This is where we are right now. So these are the benefits that most of our students here at Marymount end up using. For the VA, the VA is the one who actually determines your eligibility. Our most common one here is the Chapter 33, the post 9/11 GI Bill. And then the second most common one that students end up using is Chapter 35, which is the Dependents Education Assistance Program. We also have some veterans who are using Chapter 31, which is the Veteran Readiness and Employment. Chapter 30, Montgomery GI Bill. It's a kind of the precursor to the post 9/11. Chapter 1606 is the Montgomery GI Select Reserve. And then we do have some active duty students who are using tuition assistance. One thing I always want to point out to students is, as a private university here in Virginia, we are not eligible for students who are using the Virginia Military Survivor and Dependents Assistance Program, commonly known as the VMS DEP. That is only used at Virginia public schools. And again, since it's the three of us, please just pop in if there's anything that you guys have a question about. Okay, so let me change. Okay. So our office, what we do and what we don't do. So like I said at the beginning, we are the liaison, the point of contact between our students and the VA. So we actually certify all the students who are using VA benefits. We're the ones who certify their enrollment to let the VA know exactly how many credits they're taking, what the tuition and fees are, and the dates that they're taking them. So that way they can get their stipends sent directly to them. What we don't do, we cannot actually determine whether or not a student is eligible for VA benefits. Only the VA can do that. The other thing we can't do is we can't actually see what kind of stipends the VA gives the student. We can only see the payments that are given directly to Marymount. And then the final thing that we don't do, we never assume that a student is going to use their VA benefits every semester. So that's going to be one of the things that we ask our students to do, is to make sure that they tell us every semester if they're going to use their benefits. This is where we are located. Currently, we're located in Butler Hall. So if you see on our map, here's the front parking lot. We are all the way over here in the corner. It's a big blue door. It's also where the admissions office is located. So a lot of times new students, if they have questions, they can hit both offices at once. We're here every day. We can meet in any kind of format that a student has, whether it's in person, virtual, or through the phone. So how students go ahead and get their benefits. So the VA education benefits approval process starts with the VA. And so I'm assured that both of you guys have already gone through this process. But if not, that link right there is where you can find the application to the VA for all of those VA benefits that we covered in the previous slide. The portal is actually pretty nice. They've changed it recently. I can't actually see exactly the way that you see it, but they just ask a couple questions and it will kind of let the VA know which application you need. And from there, they direct you directly into the application. I always recommend that you make an account with the VA. You can do it without doing an account, but then you have to wait for it to be mailed to you. Once a student is awarded their benefits, they get either a certificate of eligibility, which we call a COE, or an award letter. All that we ask is that students send that to us so we can keep it in their file. It's actually not required. We can certify students without this piece of paper. However, if there's anything that often the VA may have something marked incorrectly, and it is kind of a piece that we can advocate for students if there's something that we see that's incorrect. So we do like to have it for you guys. When a student tells us that they're using benefits, the VA will not let us know. This is something that I always try to point out to students. The student actually has to come to our office in some way, shape, or form. And that usually happens in one of many different ways. Usually we have during the application process, students can say that they're going to use VA benefits, or they have to come into our office and complete these forms. Usually letting us know that they're going to use their certificate of eligibility here is kind of our biggest way. We do always ask students to do something called the statement of understanding. This is something that once a student has entered Marymount, we have them do this one time only. And this goes over our rules and expectations of what the student's responsibilities are. And we'll go over that a little bit more throughout the rest of this presentation. This is what we have a student do this form over here on the side. We have them do this every semester that they're going to use benefits. This is the only way that we know that they're using benefits for an upcoming semester. Our office makes this form go live every time the university has the opens registration. So for example, last week we just opened registration for the fall of 2023. So we have our form that has gone live so students can ask to be enrolled and certified for their fall semester. When a student fills out this form, they have to have their Marymount account already. When they fill out this form, it automatically goes into our system. And so we'll be able to see it. And then that is basically the student granting us permission to certify them and contact the VA on their behalf for that upcoming term. They can still change, like this isn't set in stone. They can still change their mind. They can decide not to use their benefits later. They can change their schedule. They can do anything they need to, but this is basically then acknowledging that, yes, I think I'm using my benefits. Please start the paperwork that we need. Here at Marymount, we actually use a two-step or a dual certification process. It's not unique to Marymount. Actually, most schools use this process. The first one is called an initial certification. As soon as the student fills out that Google form from the previous slide, we immediately go into the VA system. We certify the enrollment, the classes that they have on their schedule. And this lets the VA know that that their term is upcoming. We try to do this. We ask the students if they give us that certificate or that Google form before the semester starts. We do this beforehand, and the reason is because that allows the VA to process any stipend that comes directly to the student. So for example, our Chapter 33 post 9/11 students, they may be eligible for a housing stipend. Our Chapter 35 students, they get a monthly stipend that goes directly to them. So we want to make sure that as soon as that term starts, the VA has already processed it on their side, and anything that goes directly into the student's account, is on time for the student. It does not include, though, tuition and fees. The reason is that students can still change their schedule all the way through the add drop window. And so to prevent the VA from sending incorrect funds directly to Marymount, we don't do tuition and fees until after the add drop window closes, which is when we do our final certification. At that point, we report any tuition and mandatory fees. If the student is yellow ribbon eligible, we report that as well. And that is when the VA will issue a payment directly to Marymount if they are Chapter 33 or Chapter 31. For those students, we make sure that we don't have any holds on their account. It is a little uncomfortable as a parent. It's a little uncomfortable to see that your student may have an overdue bill because obviously the VA is paying on their own time scale. So we don't hold the student accountable for anything that the VA may be paying. So they can still enroll in future semesters. They can still do anything they need to do. We're waiting for the VA for that side of the money. The one thing we ask students, anytime they make a change though to their schedule, so whether they add a class, they drop a class, they withdraw from a class, anything that could affect their schedule, they need to let us know. We don't get an automatic notification if they do something to their schedule, but the VA will need to know that in order to pay them correctly. So tuition and fees for Marymount, and actually for any university that's approved to use VA benefits, we are only allowed to report mandatory tuition and fees. So tuition's that's anything that's going towards their class schedule, but the mandatory fee sometimes catches some students off guard. So a mandatory fee is anything that every student on the university is required to pay in order to attend that semester. So for example, new student fees, transfer fees, technology fees, health and wellness. We do require all full-time students to have student health insurance. You can waive that if you have your own private insurance, but it is something that is required to have. Things that are not mandatory. Our undergraduates are actually eligible for a program called the Bernie's Books for Less. That's a rental textbook program that we have through our on-campus bookstore, because that's something that you can opt out of. It's not mandatory. And then our parking permits are also not mandatory. So for our Chapter 33 post 9/11 students, those are two fees that I can never report to the VA. And so the student would have to pay directly to Marymount through their e-bill. The other thing is tuition-based scholarships. So for any of our students who are getting merit scholarships through Marymount, anything, or if you're getting any kind of third-party donor scholarship that is tuition specific only. And when we say that, what we mean is that you can't use it for room and board. You couldn't take it out and use it for books. It can only go to tuition and fees at the school. All of those scholarships have to be applied first. The VA is considered the last payer. So we apply all of those scholarships to the student's account first. Any unmet tuition needs that's what is reported to the VA. For a tuition-based scholarship, unfortunately, nothing can go over 100%. So a student couldn't, for example, use their merit scholarship and then still report their entire tuition to the VA, thus getting a refund. They can only hit that 100% level. So for our Chapter 31 and Chapter 33 students where the VA is paying directly to Marymount their tuition and fees, we usually give them a choice. So if they have a merit scholarship, they can elect to use it, and then we just report the reduced amount to the VA. Or they can say, hey, for the semester that I'm using my VA benefits, I would actually not like to use my merit scholarship. It still stays associated with their account. So if there's ever a semester they don't use their VA benefits, they could reinstate their scholarship at that point. But that way so it's up to the student on how they would like that presented to the VA. We are a yellow ribbon program. And so what that means is at a private university, the VA will only pay a certain amount every year. The VA's academic calendar starts August 1st and goes to July 31st. Right now, they change it every year, but right now the current annual cap for a private university is $26,381.37. If the student is a Chapter 33 post 9/11 GI beneficiary at the 100% level, they are eligible for a yellow ribbon program. Our undergraduates are actually automatically enrolled in the program if they meet those eligibility requirements. We have a limited number of graduate spots. So for our master students, we only have 20 eligible spots at any given time. And so they actually have to do it's a first come, first serve for our graduate students. Our doctoral students are not eligible for yellow ribbon here at Marymount. What will happen normally for these students is for the fall, their tuition is met at 100% by the VA. For the spring, though, for our undergraduates, usually sometime in that term, they hit that annual cap from the VA. And so normally there would be a portion of their tuition and fees that weren't covered. At that point, yellow ribbon automatically kicks in. There's no other steps that the student has to do. And the yellow ribbon VA side and the yellow ribbon of Marymount side meet that unmet need at 100%. So we split it equally. Again, there's nothing that the undergraduate student would have to do in order to use their yellow ribbon. This is something that we do automatically. We actually calculate what the price or what their need is, and we report that value to the VA at the same time that we report their tuition and fees. So it's a one-step process. The thing I like to let students know is when they look at their e-bill, though, anytime that they're using yellow ribbon, it's actually going to look like their tuition and fees are being paid by 3 different sites. One is going to be the normal VA payment that they're going to see posted on their account. One will be VA yellow ribbon, and one will be Marymount yellow ribbon. Again, it's kind of unsettling for some students because they sometimes come in at different times, but it will always go up to 100% of their need. For our graduate students, I don't know if either of you have students who are graduate students. Once they get that slot, it's theirs for as long as they're here at Marymount. So as long as they're continuously enrolled, but if they take a break and leave the university for a while, or if they graduate, then they lose their yellow ribbon spot. And then if any time in the future, if Marymount were ever to no longer participate in the yellow ribbon program, we would have to discontinue that from that point on, but we would obviously let all students know. If our Chapter 33 students, they may be eligible for a monthly housing allowance, which is called an MHA. Very, very similar to the base housing allowance, the BAH, sorry. What I always tell students, though, this is something that I actually cannot see for a student. So I'm not able to tell if they get this. I'm not able to tell if the price that they're getting is the correct price. This is purely something that's going from the VA into the student's account, and it's going into whatever bank account that you set up with the VA when you apply for your VA benefits. The big thing for students actually have to do a little bit of work for this part. Every month, the VA contacts them, whether it's through text message, email, phone call, whatever the student elects, however they elect to be contacted. At the end of the month, the VA will contact them and say, are you still enrolled like you said you were enrolled? And the student usually says yes, and then they get their housing allowance, or they say no, something changed, and then the VA stops it to look to see what changed. So for our Chapter 33 students, it comes to them through email and text. If you're a Chapter 1606 student, means you're a reservist, you have to use it through, it's the WAVE portal is what it's called. The other thing I always let students know, the way that the housing allowance comes is it comes after the end of the month that you just did your education. So for the month of February, you go to school all of February, you get that February housing allowance the first week of March. It is something to think about if you're using the MHA in order to pay for room and board. What we recommend is that we normally have our students, we direct them to student accounts and set up a payment plan. So that way student accounts also knows that this money that's going to the room and board is going to come in a monthly installation, as opposed to as a bulk sum right at the beginning. Okay, so student responsibilities. The big things that we're asking for any student who's using VA benefits here at Marymount. One is that they contact our office. Usually that is to provide us with that certificate of eligibility. 2, they have to let us know anytime that they're gonna use their VA benefits for an upcoming semester. They need to let us know if they're going to make any changes to their schedule after they've already registered and been certified. That includes changing degree programs. The VA will only cover classes that go directly to a program that they're trying to graduate with. So if a student comes in and they say that they're an English major and they are taking all the classes and then they switch to business, perfectly fine. The VA is totally okay with that. However, I need to let the VA know that they changed, so that way on their transcripts show that those credits are going towards the business as opposed to English. So it's just one of the things that we need them to do. Finally, the student does need to have some sort of idea about their eligibility. We try to track that for them, but if a student may have only 10 months of eligibility left, 10 months remaining, we do try to let them know, but it is good if they also know that that's coming. Just that way they can plan for any kind of alternative funding if they need it. This office is the one who kind of takes the lead for our ROTC programs. Marymount actually has Army and Air Force ROTC. However, due to our size, we're actually considered a crosstown university. And in areas where you have lots of universities that have ROTC programs, usually the military will designate one school to be the host school and all the other schools go there for their training. So for our Air Force ROTC unit, our students go to Howard University. And for our Army ROTC unit, they go to George Mason. They actually sign up for all their classes through Marymount though. Any tuition and fees associated with the class is paid to Marymount. So they don't need to register or enroll in these universities. It all comes directly through us. What we do is we are going to be the ones who help them register for classes. It goes up our side, our registrar office then contacts the host school and it gets their paperwork all certified that way. The one thing that I always do warn students currently, because we don't have that many students who actually are enrolled in ROTC right now, we don't have any transportation at this moment. For students who are freshmen and interested in ROTC, we normally at Marymount do not let freshmen have a car on campus. We would obviously waive that for ROTC cadets. So if a freshman wanted to have a car in order to take themselves to ROTC, we would allow them to buy a parking pass and have their car on campus the whole time. That's all that I have in terms of what our office does and what kind of we're asking for our students who are using VA benefits here. Do you guys have any questions for me? And I'll go ahead and turn off the record button if I can figure out how. Which I can't.
Erin, this is Katie. I do have a question on the timing of applying for the VA benefits.
Okay, hold on. Let me go ahead and actually let me just stop our recording real fast.
Yeah.
Ooh.